Hello, everyone. Thank you for joining us, and welcome to Firing Range, a podcast to talk about all things Destiny, weapons, abilities, loadouts, and the sandbox at large. And cones. And unfortunately, our resident cone expert, Drew, is not here with us tonight. He is in spirit. He had some conflicting schedule things going on today, but that's fine. We will soldier on without him and try to bring up as much Taylor Swift and accuracy cones as we can. But the other boys are here tonight. We got Cammy, we got Cool Guy, we got Merc, and we're ready to talk about gaming and sandboxing and all the usual shenanigans. Let's start off on a positive note. Cammy, say something positive about Trials.
The shotgun is awesome. The Astral Horizon, it changed the game.
There we go. Always good to open up on a positive note. But how was everybody's week? Cool Guy, what's going on?
I'm good, man.
Yeah?
I'm moving along, streaming a little bit more.
Yeah?
I'm good. How about
Good for you, man? I'm doing fine, thank you. I know we usually do plugs at the end of the show, but if you're listening, I strongly encourage you to check out Cool Guy on Twitch. He is still going for that partnership, delayed, unfortunately, because he changed his name on Twitch, put his application at the bottom of the pile, which is garbage, by the way. Don't do that, Twitch, if you're listening right now. Just file the application. So he changed his name. Who cares? It's the same man, all right? He's got the same hat that he puts on, not every day, but most days. Merc, how you doing, buddy?
Doing great, man. Been playing a lot of Destiny and reading a lot about Destiny, and also super excited to see Halo Infinite, because I know that they're going to drop that reveal tomorrow. So I know that's not the subject of this podcast, but I'm real stoked to see what they've got.
No, that's the subject of this podcast.
Make me care about Halo again.
Bungie
2020. Oh man, I really want to go on a side tangent on that. It looks, my hype is, I haven't been actually hyped for a Halo game in quite a while, and I'm savoring the moment right now.
What's amazing is that they've shown nothing at all.
I know.
And I'm so much more hyped than I feel like I would have been otherwise. I'm just hoping it lives up to it. But everything that they're showing, which is not a lot, seems to harken back to the golden days of Halo, as opposed to the Halo 4 and Halo 5. It's pretty strong departures from what the series was. But the stuff they're showing about Halo Infinite makes it look like they're respecting what made Halo the killer franchise that it was.
I'm really hoping that it gets there. By the time this episode will be available for download, the Infinite reveal will have been revealed, which is I'm excited.
It was awesome, wasn't it?
Yeah. It was great.
We're just assuming it was tremendous.
We're in the future. God. We have access to these.
Can you believe that you play as a brute the entire time?
I couldn't believe
crazy.
It. Yeah. The grunt birthday party mode. Oh my god.
Yeah. They killed Master Chief right in the first minute of the trailer. It was insane.
We heard you guys like Sprint, so we created instant transmission.
Yeah. It's actually just blink and nothing.
Yeah, it's a blink.
Armor Lock doesn't have a cooldown anymore.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Everyone has a jetpack. Yeah.
Sick. Bloom.
Actually,
yeah. It's 2 times what it was.
I didn't think jetpack was that bad in Halo Reach as far as it goes.
It wasn't.
I mean, you were a sitting duck in the air when you were using it, and it added a whole different level of mobility to the game.
I'll be
I
real,
thought it actually played really well.
To drag this back to the Destiny frame of reference, I think Halo went through some time periods where they got a new fan base, a different identity latched onto that. And people were like, this is Halo to me. And it might have been the Sprint version, might have been the jetpack version.
Maybe, yeah.
But to me, it was more the 2-3 era.
Yep.
Do you think that Halo jetpacking from Reach goes to bed each night, and on its wall it has a poster of Top Tree Dawnblade?
It could be.
I could be this.
You know, I never played Reach, and a lot
Really?
of people say you should go try the grenade launcher on Reach. They use so much of the fighting line.
It's pretty much the Orwings Mall, 100% the Orwings Mall.
Well, when you look at it, everything that was a primary weapon in Halo is in Destiny, right? The Magnum is a hand cannon. The DMR is a scout rifle. The BR is a pulse rifle. The auto rifle is an auto rifle, right? SMGs. The normal pistol is sidearms. They literally just ported over. Obviously not literally ported over, but when you do the comparison head to head, there's a lot of very similar, archetypes.
Spartan Laser
I never really
is
gave
the
it
world's best linear fusion.
Yeah.
It's
Sleeper
world's
Simulator.
best.
It is
I mean,
Sleeper Simulator. There you go.
Sleeper. You're right. It is. Yeah.
I never gave it a fair shake because it changed a little bit too much of the foundation to me. So
was
it's
so
like
good.
there was peace, and then I teleported away into high school.
Yeah.
You know,
Good lord.
when we were at the first community summit, I remember talking to Josh Hamrick about like how much I loved Reach, except for a couple things, right? And I was like, I wasn't a huge fan of Bloom, and I wasn't a huge fan of Armorlock. And he was like, I put both of those things in the game, and I was like, God darn it, Josh. And here I thought you were a cool guy.
Oh
but
man.
no, we had a nice long conversation about the joys of Armorlock. And how I think that the game would legitimately have had a better reception if Armorlock had been limited to big team battles. Not in any other playlist.
Yeah, we got to finish that conversation real quick before my fiance gets back in the room while we podcast, because she was a huge fan of Armorlock. She gets very passionate. People meme on like, "Oh, Armorlock ruined Reach." Like, how dare you? She'll come in.
Like I said, identity issue, that was Reach to some people. That was Halo to some people. So
yeah.
I'm very, very curious how Infinite's going to solve this with all the different types of Halo players.
True.
Enhanced Wars, Armorlock, that makes sense.
It's going to be an open world MMO. They're just going to do away with the entire FPS thing.
Love it. Just make it Minecraft with elites and Master Chief. Just
Hold that thought, Merc. If that's the case, I've just watched 5 years of my life disappear. Just playing that so much.
Yeah.
Well, that was great opening banter, I would say.
Yeah, for sure.
Definitely a success. So for those of you familiar with our show, first of all, thank you. Second of all, you might notice that during our previous episodes, we have tried to do a format where we have opened up with maybe one or two topics that we feel passionately about, that we want to talk about, and then we try to wrap things up with community questions, We have drawn inspiration from the DCP Prime, whatever the original DCP podcast is called, and they have done a pretty good job for themselves asking questions at the end of the show. But you know what? We thought it might be a good idea, a very good idea, to open up today's show after the Halo talk, of course, with some community questions. So why do them at the end? Let's do them at the beginning, because we have found ourselves in a situation so many times where we have great community questions where we kind of turn our hands up in a shrugging motion and go, we could spend a whole damn episode talking about that, And then we don't give the questions the time that they deserve. So we're going to try and open up with questions right now, and if they lead down crazy, wild rabbit holes, so be it. And if we run out of questions, we have stuff to talk about anyway, so it doesn't matter. But let's dive right in to the questions. And thank you very much for hitting us with them on Twitter, as you've been known to do. So here we go. Here's one that I wrote first because I want to hear Mercules talk about it. It's from Brian's Kelly. How would you fix Bastion? How would you fix Bastion? He goes on to say 2 shots versus 3. And there's a second part to that question, but it's non-Bastion related, and I wanted to open up with the Bastion. Merc, take it away.
I think we all know that Bastion is just fine as it is, and in fact, what it needs is a masterwork that decreases the charge time to about half of what it is right now, and then tightens the cone when you ADS.
Beautiful.
I think we can all agree that would make Bastion
maybe a fourth
weapon.
round. Yeah.
Yeah, a fair weapon in today's sandbox. No, I mean, realistically, I guess it comes down to what do you actually think Bastion's problem is. Obviously, I'm horrendously biased. I don't think that Bastion is a problem in the current sandbox. I think it's particularly powerful. But I think as long as you have Fellwinter's Lie as, an alternative to it, I think it's a great counter to that, and it counters the prevailing playstyle. If you really, really, really want to fix Bastion, then you probably widen the pellet spread, right? You probably slow down the charge rate so it makes it a little bit longer to charge. One thing that I think is really, really creative is you bring the sound of it charging up to be even louder than it already is, and it gives a lot more notice to players that someone is pre-charging it around the corner. Because probably one of the strongest parts of Bastion is that unlike a fusion rifle, which only has 7 frames of shots being shot out, there's a significant amount of time in between each Bastion round, and each round can one-shot a non-super player, right? So you can pre-charge before someone comes around the corner, fire your first round, which on a fusion rifle basically means you blow in your load, you're done, right? The player can now slide out, but they come around the corner, you've got 2 more Bastion shots to kill them, right? So you could even decrease the time in between Bastion shots and make it to where they fired much more quickly. It would make it super lethal versus supers, but it would make it a lot worse of a pre-charging kind of corner holding weapon?
I got to give you credit. I threw that question in your general direction because, memes. We obviously know you're a fan of the gun. It's fun. Some exotics in the game, got to admit, they're just fun to use. Someone else on Twitter said, hey, from Light Swiftly, please talk about Bastion. I don't think it's OP, but it seems to be a very polarizing weapon, which it is. I play with a really good buddy of mine. Some of you know him, Joverated. Very funny, charismatic streamer. He hates the Bastion. We do trials help together on the weekend to try and help people get the loot that they're chasing and the experience of going flawless and to just learn more about PvP. And he despises the Bastion. Every player, I feel, in this game has a weapon. Actually, that would be really fun to go around the table and talk about. Has a weapon that they hate. Or maybe not so much hate, but they get very frustrated and salty when they run into or when they get killed by it. Bastion is Joey's kryptonite, and I agree that I don't think it's OP. I think that there are certain rushes to judgment, especially in an FPS game. Just because you get killed by a weapon a lot and get salty doesn't necessarily mean it's OP. There are certain things that you would have to look at, how much the weapon is widely used, what are its strengths, what are its weaknesses, to determine, is it overpowered or not. I don't think it is. I think that it does a few things very, very well. If you have a smart shotgun user, you can punk a Bastion because the charge time is the Achilles heel. You get a weapon like the Fellwinter, Mindbender, even like the Chaperone, you get in there, bam, insta-dead, right? I mean, there's a huge potential to F up and get counter-killed by the Bastion. But the one thing I think the Bastion does that maybe needs to be looked at, and you guys tell me what you think here, agree or disagree. Correct me if I'm wrong. One blast from the Bastion can kill a roaming super. Just one.
No.
You
mean
I
one
believe
pellet spread or
one pellet, because it fires in 1, 2, 3.
Yeah.
Each wave. One
damage.
Wave, I believe, can kill weaker roaming supers. I'm fairly sure because I've talked with my friend about this.
It can. It does 630 damage total if you hit all 21 pellets, right?
Now,
one volley or the entire?
One volley, not 1, 2, 3 volleys.
No,
one
one volley only does 210 to a non-armored super.
To a non, does that include
50% reduction?
Does that include precision damage? So
there is no precision damage. There's just
it's not. It doesn't work. It's just all okay.
If you divinity him, yeah.
Thanks, cool guy.
Yeah.
Are we sure? I would need to do testing on that because I've seen. You know what it could be? It could be a light level situation. Although his light level's not low, I feel like I've been taken out of a roaming super with one volley from the Bastion, not 2. I would have to.
This sounds like a very cool, addition to the podcast where we can have homework for the next episode.
I mean, I did this already. I did all
this
testing already because I did a Bastion episode for my podcast, way back when I first started using it, and it can't kill a roaming super with just a single. With the first 7 pellets that come out, it cannot.
Correct.
Yeah, it does 30 damage per pellet. There's 7 pellets per spread, and then there's 3 spreads per
enough.
I can hear my friend Joey angry typing in the chat right now. I cannot wait to talk to him about this. I don't know about you guys, especially those of us here, no offense, Merc, who do more of the YouTubage work, but Mercules does his fair share of homework. It doesn't matter if he puts it on YouTube, the man does homework. Do you guys have situations happen like this, where you have one person saying one thing, it's like a he said, she said, and you kind of say to yourself, you know what? I'm going to go find out for myself.
All the time.
Yeah, every time.
Yeah. It's like 90% of the reason why I test stuff is to either prove someone right or wrong on the internet.
Right. It's either curiosity or you're trying to settle an argument. And I'm gladly going to look into it. And there's no salt involved one way or the other. I'm just curious now. I trust Mercules deeply with his information. But I've seen some wacky stuff in PvP. I'm definitely going to look into it. But
I mean, if you're a golden gun, it'll kill you. It's a roaming super.
That's fair. That's fair. But okay, let me back up a little bit. Would you agree that the Bastion is very good at shutting down roaming supers? Number of bullets or pellets aside, it definitely doesn't require the full 1, 2, 3 volley to put down a roaming super. Would you agree that it is very good at shutting down roaming supers?
It's very good at, yeah, that's almost why I use it.
That is why I use it. It's the only, not the only, I shouldn't say that. It is one of the only special weapons in the game where I feel like I can bait roaming supers, as opposed to it being like a last ditch effort or trying to just like survive. I'm like, oh, I heard a striker. That sounds like fun for me.
So we talked about this in previous episodes as like what you keep on your character at all times. I keep Bastion on my character at all times because at some point in like trials, a round-based system, we're going to see 3 supers up, and we might have 3 supers. And I'm going to tell my teammates, do you have Radiant Light? Which is that perk where if you use a super, it charges, right? Or if they drop an orb for their super, I'm going to high energy fire my Bastion, so it will melt supers.
Whew.
Now that one might kill in one volley.
That one would definitely kill in one volley.
But the point is, you set that one up to where you are using one super to counter a certain super, and then it makes your other 2 teammates a lot better to counter them without using super.
Yeah. See, I told my friend, listen, I agree that getting killed by the Bastion is super annoying. It is very frustrating. It's one of those guns that kind of makes me grind my teeth. But if you were to take away its ace in the hole, which is to so confidently deal with roaming supers, that's what it brings to the table. If you were to take that away, like Mercules, how would you feel if a full 1, 2, 3 volley was not even strong enough to kill a roaming super? It would become trash overnight, right? It would go from having a unique role to becoming essentially garbage.
It would go back to being worse than an Arantil. I mean, right now it can do something. Arantil can still kill from further away than Bastion can, and I've tested that too. Arantil has several meters of lethal distance, even without firmly planted on a Bastion, right? So if you take away the ability to kill super, then Arantil just becomes head and shoulders the best charge-up weapon to use, right? But more importantly, we need to look at right now, roaming supers are still crazy powerful in this sandbox.
Yeah,
like they still have more damage resistance than any, moving supers had in D1. And they last longer. They have the capability to chain more kills. Like, if anything, supers are still too powerful. We are in a sandbox right now that has weaker special weapons and weaker primary weapons than D1 ever had, yet we have stronger roaming supers, right? And to me, that's a problem. I don't think Bastion should lose its ability to take down supers. I think more special weapons should be able to take down supers. I think raise everything else up. If you don't want Bastion to be an outlier, don't bring it down. They just took away adaptive sniper rifle's ability to kill supers without box breathing, which was ridiculous to me. So
it's whack.
God, I love this show. I agree with you. I think that, I don't know about y'all, but if I go into trials with a relative newcomer and they're trying to say, hey, look at my loadout real quick, what do you recommend? Bro, intellect. I mean, it could be different depending on what game type you play. I play more trials than anything because I usually play most of the time on the weekend, and that's when, trials is. But I'm constantly, if I'm entering, okay, let's win mode, right? Let's put the meme loadout away. Let's go for real. 100 intellect, strong roaming super. I am going to run with Storm Trance. I'm going to run, if I'm on a hunter, Spec Blade. I am going to pimp out my intellect. I'm going to go double pump action. I'm going to go double light reactor, double remote connection, whatever I'm doing, because I want to get my super immediately, and I want to launch that snowball effect, because the main strategy still for dealing with a super is you either have to get a very well-coordinated team shot, or you got to run. You got to turn around and Forrest Gump your way out of there, because if you mistime that counterattack, you will die. And in trials, that is almost a guaranteed round win unless you really have a bad push. Pushing with a super in trials, in my opinion, with a really good roaming super, almost a guaranteed round win.
Yeah, I would say it's almost a guaranteed game win, because if you snowball the first super, you drop orbs for your teammates, now they're up on super. And that can mean another round with an uncontested super.
Yeah.
You put pressure on them in the 5th.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it's pretty simple to me. I asked this question going into any game mode. Is there an objective presence? Like, is there a reason to move? If the answer is no, crank that intellect up all the way. Because if there's not a reason to move, don't.
Yeah. And
So-
if you... Oh, go on.
Two things. Real quick, like, there needs to be an OBJ. There has to be in competitive play. You have to promote some sort of movement. Oftentimes in Destiny, historically, it's been heavy ammo. Well, we start getting heavy ammo every other round, or sometimes just mid-round. Like, they change it. I'm all for something similar to the orb system from Halo. I'm not talking about, like, getting an overshield. I'm talking more so, like, why can't that be a 15-second movement buff? Right? Like, why can't that be, just to get players to move to mid-map? Like, say, like, what is it, the Broken Heart buff in Crimson Doubles?
Mhm.
Fast reload, super, like, why can't one person have that for 10 seconds? Like, have it as a power-up to get people to move.
Power-ups would be kind of cool for
Power-ups are
Destiny.
a great idea.
I think that'd be cool. But as far as Bastion, dude, like, let's remember here. Let's remember. Bastion right now today is the same exact way it was the day it came out. Now, the day it came out, it was almost a laughingstock. People like, oh, Airtail's way better than this, and nobody gave it much thought. But over time, you figured out it's the most, or one of the most consistent weapons in the entire game. And it has to do with those 3 volleys. I agree with Merc. I agree about the charge time. Like, make it almost like an arbalist. Like, somebody's pre-charged an arbalist, right?
It's very loud, yeah.
Well, maybe not that loud. But my thing is I feel that there needs to be an in-air accuracy penalty. I see so many Hunters, Titans, Warlocks, doesn't matter what sub they're on, they can just jump at me. And because the damage is so heavy, over 600 damage, it doesn't matter how, quote, inaccurate it is. Like, it's going to find me, right? It's the ability that it's faint too, so they can kind of bait you in a doorway, and then it's almost as accurate as a sidearm from the air, I feel, as far as just
And with 3
connecting.
volleys, you might be landing on the floor on that 3rd shot.
Yep. Mhm.
That's how I use it. Is I'll jump and I'll try to kill with the first 2, but I know because there's so much time during that burst that by the time the 3rd one hits, I'm on the floor and I'm perfectly accurate and I can kill him with that 3rd one if I didn't get him with the first 2.
Brutal.
That's something I think of right there. It's extremely accurate from the air, and with how much heavy damage it does. That's what I would look into.
My answer is I sort of look at this game as just a list of counters, right? If I see a Bastion, I think, how do I beat this? I try to play most things in the game so that I have more options to counter with. So I'm always practiced. And so with
You
Bastion,
are one
it's
of the... Yeah, go on.
Yeah, go for it.
I was just going to say that you are one of the most rocks, paper, scissors mentality people. I know it's really... There's like a couple players that are like really admirable in terms of mentally playing the game and trying to outthink other people without bringing emotion into it. I really try, man. It's hard. I have like a heated, passionate gaming background of like aggressively fighting with my friends on the couch in like the back in the day on 64. I really try to take emotion out of it. I have a very difficult time. Cammy completely removes emotion. He looked at it very practically on paper. Here's what the enemy loadout is. Here's what they're doing. How do we beat it? And then he opens up his Yu-Gi-Oh deck of what he's got, and then he begins to bring out the counter cards. It's very
Open the
admirable.
toolbox. And here's the beauty of that approach is you don't have to be the best at any particular aspect. It just has to counter hard enough that even if you're garbage with it, if it still counters hard enough, it's still the best choice.
There you go.
Which Mountaintop is a pretty hard counter to Bastion. Mountaintop's a hard counter to almost all things, but
yeah.
Most things, except for jumping. And that's
Except for
when I
jumping.
see a Mountaintop on, I'm like, all right, let's get aerial.
Time to get in the air. That's a perfect example of why we're doing these questions at the beginning of the show. we went on a great tangent on that one. Love it. Let's move on to a new question, though. Here's one from Dean. After getting back into Halo, finally, do you think the Destiny sandbox would benefit if Flinch could knock you off from aiming down sights instead of moving your reticle? For those of you at home,
No.
I was thinking that too. For those of you at home, if you are unfamiliar with how Halo works, if you're ADSing at an enemy in Halo and you get shot, you literally get knocked out of ADS. You have to re-ADS to get back to where you were. and I don't think that would work.
Halo has perfect hipfire accuracy.
That's what I was going to say.
This game has atrocious hipfire accuracy. It would mean whoever lands the first shot wins every engagement. You would never lose if you won the first shot.
Go to Halo.
If your shields break, it knocks you out of aim.
Maybe
even still, no.
Or what about with just sniper rifles only?
No,
it would destroy snipers. Snipers.
Yeah, it
would
would destroy them.
Dare I say, I would like it to descope on snipers. I think I'd have a lot more freedom to play with primaries if snipers got hit like that.
Yeah, but no one would ever touch a sniper again, basically, except for like the cream of the crop. Snipers would still use them, but that's like less than 1% of the population. They'd go back to being dead guns.
What if
I'll bring up the like perception is reality kind of thing? That's mostly where I hang out in, right? Is just playing people who seemingly can't miss with the sniper rifle.
Well,
so to me, the game gets shut down.
There are things that need to change about snipers. Like, don't get me wrong, but
yeah, that's just one option.
Yeah.
Agreed.
Zoom levels, aim assist levels, like these guns still have the same amount of aim assist they had when they were heavy weapons, right? Like the aim assist diameter of snipers is much higher in D2 than it was in D1, right? And it was because they were heavy weapons, so they needed to be easier to use, but they got moved up to special, and they never modified that aspect of them. And in fact, they gave them lower zoom scopes than they ever had in D1 to begin with. So now we have Revoker, which is incredibly good and incredibly powerful, thankfully being a sunset. But, descoping, I think, is too much of a jump. There are other things that I would touch before it. But honestly, God, Flinch is my least favorite mechanic in all shooters. Like, descoping is a different story in Halo because, like I said, perfect hipfire accuracy. So I feel like it's a penalty, but not a huge one. And you can still play with it. Flinch, I hate Flinch. I love Apex so much because the flinch is so minimal. It's mostly visual, right? Like it colors your screen and it shakes you a little bit. But like mechanically, the flinch doesn't do what it does in Destiny, where it randomizes the bounce of your reticle a little bit, where it like bounces you off, bounces you back on, bounces you off, bounces you back on. I despise Flinch as a mechanic. If I could do away with one thing in Destiny, I would get rid of Flinch.
But that would make snipers so strong, though. And the snipers are already...
I would change other stuff about snipers.
Okay.
There's other things I would change about snipers.
So no flinch on the condition that snipers would get a big whack in terms of having many things changed.
Snipers
here's
become a lot
the
harder
crazy
to use.
thing, though, is that descoping wouldn't really change how I personally use snipers. I am so conditioned to losing sniper duels that I don't even look for head-on duels. I look for the leg shot. I look for the one-hit kill. Anything to just chip damage in before we fly in as a team. And that seems to work with sniping.
Yeah.
I don't even run in flinching perks anymore on sniping. I think it's more valuable to go high energy fire or something else.
Dude, high energy fires become... I use it on everything. The charge with light system, I hope it's going to catch on. It is so good.
I've seen more people talking about it, actually. I mean,
it's good.
Yeah. It took a while to catch on.
I saw a question about that today on, I think Watts's retweet of your thing. Was like someone was asking if Charge with Light worked in PvP.
Yeah, it works. Dude, I literally have my favorite Charge with Light build. I won't get too far into this, but I've mentioned it before. It's the Monarch. Because you get Charged with Light, you get high energy fire. You can one-shot people with the bow. You just hit them in the head with the Monarch, walk away. Don't look at the explosion. Cool people never look. You just hit them in the head, turn around, walk away. It's like the old school D1 when you hit them with Thorn, they just burn out.
Yeah.
Hit them and you're like, done. Move on to the next engagement.
You could still do that with Thorn, kind of, except when they have 6 resilience and then they anime adjust glasses. But
and Worm Husk dodge.
Yeah, Worm Husk dodge.
The Worm Husk. It's the bane of my Monarch. Good question though. Good question.
Great question.
Here's one from Russian05. What is an archetype of weapon that not a lot of people have mastered, but should spend the time at least learning a little bit? That's a deep thought question. Makes me think.
That is a deep thought question. Can you read it one more time?
What is an archetype of weapon that not a lot of people have mastered, but should spend the time at least learning a little bit?
High impact fusions.
High impact fusion rifles?
Yeah.
My vote's grenade launchers.
Grenade launchers.
I'm serious though. I'll elaborate later.
Not non-mountaintop grenade launchers?
Non-mountaintop grenade launchers. Yep.
Grenade launchers. Yeah, okay.
Yeah.
I'm going to say high impact pulse rifles, because even though the easy answer would be like, well, just use a 600 RPM auto rifle Fallout because they're super baller, which They are. But like when you watch someone who's really good with like a Redrix's broadsword get the perk active in a banner match or something, and then they just go ham with that high impact rain of bullets with the broadsword, it's like it's beautiful to watch. It's just beautiful. It just everything falls into place. I don't think it's the best archetype of weapon in the game, but I think that people should give it a try. It's very fun to me.
I guess I'll go for Cool
on high impact, because I mean for the next year, I mean the TTK is right. It's coming correct at a 0.67. It's also, especially with the zoom factor, you could essentially duel at scout ranges not using a scout, because scouts are bad.
Right.
And we could spend a whole video talking about scouts if you guys want. But they're very lethal, especially with damage dealing perks, kill clip, any of them. Even a swash ×1 makes it 38 to the head, and that's what Headseeker does for those for that archetype. So you can do you can have a couple body shots. For me, that is my preferred long range now, even more so than the aggressive burst, the 4 burst. Like on Midtown, I'm using high impact pulses.
Good man. Yeah. I want to hear more about Cammy and the grenade launchers here.
All right, so non-mountaintop, right? Mountaintop is just point and click.
Point and click.
Fast velocity, and it has utility of spike for, explode on the floor, or sticky to be a trap. It is almost no questions the best tube grenade launcher.
Right.
But it does, that linear path of it is a blessing and a curse for a grenade launcher. The tube launchers have that arc, that drop off of the projectile, right? Which means that sometimes there's a low box or something to crouch behind. You can shoot the grenade launcher over the box, and you might hit someone on the other side. And so why I bring up these tube launchers is because they're good to get good with, because it can break stalemates. It can break really passive play. These tube launchers can bounce off of walls, hit people behind cover, and that chip damage, just like I've always preached about the Fighting Lion from way back in the day, that chip damage wins team fights because you're entering engagements with more health as your other two teammates. And then also the tube launcher can run concussion or blinding, which can take away the radar or stop them from shotgunning you in point blank.
One of my favorite moments from early D2 was the introduction of the Fighting Lion, because it's just like if there was a museum or maybe or something like that, the history of Destiny museum, I would have a personal moment in there when so many community members, and I shouldn't mention their names because a lot of them are friends of mine and I really respect them and love them to death and their content, but a couple of them came out with videos that was like, this gun is trash. This gun is absolute trash. It's just garbage. Why would you use this gun? And it was written off immediately written off as a meme weapon. And you messed people up with it. You sat down and tried to figure out the ins and outs. Cammy was like, he went full science guy on the Fighting Lion, and you made it work to
it's still
a degree
an
where
to this day. I mean, obviously it got buffed like crazy. There was a point where it did hit 69 damage, and that was pretty funny. But
it was just
they
very
kept buffing it.
funny to me.
Was it Chimera?
Chimera, yeah, it also got a catalyst since then.
Yeah.
It's
and
only gotten better
in the double
time.
primary day, it's the same concept as these special tubes right now, except without the extra effect of concussion or blinding. Spike's not bad either. But I was reading on Twitter so many mountaintop complaints, and a lot of them say like, man, mountaintop takes no skill. And that made me start thinking, it's like, do the other tubes take skill? I started really thinking about what they bring to the table. And it turns out with Khepri Sting, you know how you can smoke the floor and see through walls?
Do I?
You know how people scramble and run at the beginning of a trials match to get to a sniper position?
Sure.
I started just shooting the grenade launcher, trying to predict when they're going to show up to the sniper lane. And as they slide around the corner, it just claps them from across the map.
It's very funny.
And that to me has been just a revelation in breaking sniper stalemates. You know, that team that never wants to get out of the back of the map? What you can do is if you have the extra ammo with the tube launcher, if you have the skill, you can have the confidence to hit them from across the map with a quick peek when you know they're not paying attention with something like Khepri Sting or a Sword Hilt or something. Not recommending it, but The point is, there is a skill ceiling with these grenade launchers that I don't think a lot of the community is tapped into. They could be both a shotgun and a sniper rifle if you need them to, or an engagement maker, hitting them behind cover with a concussion nade, them having half their health. And I combine it with Crimson so that they're concussed if I get hurt by someone else. As long as I finish my kill, it starts the healing process. So as like a team unit, I can fly into the room and pretty confidently trade out. And that's, I guess, my spiel on the tube launchers.
I love the spiel. I think I love using them in the right context. I definitely think that Mountaintop is definitely in its own category of let's deal with that. But but the other tube launchers where you actually have, I think that the tube launchers with the the non-Mountaintop ones require more thought and planning to use more effectively, where Mountaintop is very straightforward in usage and effectiveness.
Proxy Det's also something worth considering. It doesn't one-shot kill on the direct impact, but Charge of Light has sort of changed the game. Now you can build around a team composition using high energy fire in Proxy Det and having a better Mountaintop, because you don't even have to hit the floor now.
Proxy Det does 169
right
on a direct impact. But something to talk about. Pyro was talking about it on Twitter. He's like, okay, I have a Mountaintop. It's doing X amount of damage. I have a Truth Teller, and I do believe that Truth Teller is going to be the next big tube launcher.
That's what I mean. It has
a lot of good.
So you switch
to
Crimson.
Yes. You use it with Proxy Det?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Yeah. I'm talking about that next week too. It's so good. But here's something to consider. Yes, Mountaintop's a kinetic, and it's also talking PvE here. You get that little extra damage because it's kinetic, not breaking shields or anything with an energy launcher. The frames are different, right? They're both 90 RPM. They're both lightweight frames, but Mountaintop actually has an actual lightweight frame, like straight faster with aiming down sights. Now the tube launchers, every other one, it's a 90 RPM lightweight frame, but their description is hold and release on detonation. So I think there is something up with Mountaintop's frame. We do have micro missile as well, like the actual perk. But I think what makes that good is it not having the other frame that like Truth Teller and Aura Wings has. It has its own, like, it's like a spare rations essentially. Does that make sense?
Yeah, it makes sense.
So yeah, completely different frames.
I think as the community learns how powerful these are and they start adding them to their toolkit, sort of like Bastion was something people wrote off initially, they might be saying it's OP one day. And so there's going to be a lot of necessary nerfs. I've sort of predicted that they would rise and they never did, so I'm wrong there. But it still could happen.
They nerfed concussion grenades back in the day.
Mm-hmm.
They had a time.
I think auto-loading holster might be the first thing to go on those things.
Well answered, boys. Well answered. Let's move on to another question. Here's one from Sean Francis. People seem disappointed by dungeon loot. We're going a little pivot here, PvP to PvE. Where do you stand with them having uniques in terms of loot dropping? What would they be like? What would you do to correct this? Has anyone here... I would be shocked because at the time that we are recording this show, I think 1 day has gone by from the new Grandmaster. Has anyone done the new Grandmaster?
I plan on it this week. I haven't
planned
done it
on
yet.
it this week.
I haven't done any of them, so.
If you have a light level, I'm down.
Yeah, it looks. I would be down to attempt it with you. It looks insanely challenging. But the report is that. What is it in terms of loot? You get a guaranteed golf ball, right? The old what is it? The Ascendant Shard, and then you get a shot at another shard, and then whatever the usual, I guess, loot might be. If that's it, I would need to look into confirming what that loot is. Do you think that that's enough? Because it seems like if that's the only loot being offered, that maybe most people would be doing the Grandmaster just to kind of be like, hey, I did the Grandmaster, Any
Before that gets touched, they need to look at the system itself of leveling up stuff.
The system of leveling up stuff? What do you mean?
It's too much. Like, it's all too much.
He's talking about the economy of leveling up an item,
powering up.
Yeah, exactly.
That might lead down an entirely new shoot, but I would agree. Yeah, I've gotten to the
Better.
point where if I have a piece of armor that I want to level up, I'm like, do I really want to level this up? How badly do I want to level it up? Like, it's just a lot of work to have a full set. I have well-rolled armor from like previous seasons that I'm still holding on to just because I don't want to. It's a whole ordeal, you know? Like, it's just a whole process.
It actively pushes me away from trying to get new armor. Like,
Yeah.
I have the
Yeah,
loadout that
especially
I
with
want,
sunsetting.
and I don't know what it would take to motivate me to try to level up another entire loadout. Like,
Would
it's brutal.
sunsetting motivate you?
Well, not until 12 months from now.
It motivates me less, man. I have to like look at my armor, and anytime I consider leveling it, I have to say, will I use this for the next year or the next 9 months? Whereas previously, I'd be like, I'm just gonna masterwork this for a video because it's funny.
Right. Fair.
But yeah, on the subject of, we were at Grandmaster Nightfalls in Dungeon, right?
Right.
Yeah, I don't think the loot for Grandmasters is good enough to warrant the effort level.
That's a good way of putting it. Yeah, I would agree. What would
Especially
what would
when
they have
compared to Masters.
in terms of what you
Of
get
effort
from
level
completing a
and-
master?
Yeah, and Master also has the safety net if you do, like if you want to just chill, have a conversation, and complete a Master, you can. Whereas a Grandmaster, one mistake can end the run, and they're harder on top of it.
Do you think that there's anything Bungie could do? What would you think? Not for you, but if you had to think for the average Joe, what carrot would they have to put to dangle on the end of that stick that you think that it would be worth most people in the community trying to chase after?
I think they need to go in a little bit more with generosity, RNG curbing, and deterministic drops. So give it some way that you can work towards something in the game specifically. So for example, if I want a new pair of Ursa Furiosa on my Titan, I'd be able
Right.
to guarantee it from a certain Nightfall completion, a certain Nightfall speed, maybe doing it with a certain weapon or something like that. Give me some control over my loot, and I'll be in there all day.
Gotcha. Well answered. Always a little difficult to go from PvP to PvE on that quick pivot, but I appreciate the feedback, boys. Let's do... Here's a good question. From Asriel. What is your favorite off-current meta loadout? I feel like we answer this question every week. And would you ever want it to become meta? Not the one where you slay, but the dumb, fun one. The one where your win-loss and KAD don't matter. You still have fun. Who's got an answer there?
I use Jotun, man. That is so much fun.
Oh, you know my friend? Big Joey Ton?
Yeah. It's, although actually someone did correct me the other day and they said it's pronounced Jotun. And I was like,
Are you really calling it Jotun? I've only heard people calling it Jotun. I've never heard.
Apparently I can't pronounce anything that I've never heard pronounced. But the problem is that I've called it Jotun for so long that I'm just like, that's the first thing that comes to my mind. But that's like my current when I'm not running Bastion and a 600 RPM auto rifle. I'm running like Cold Denial, so a high impact pulse, and Jotun. And I think that gun is just so tremendously fun. Would I want it to be meta? Oh God, no. It's like mountaintop with tracking, but a charge time, right? So no, I would never want to be meta. It'd be horrible if it was meta. It'd be not very fun at all. But when I'm the only person in a game using it, it's really fun for me and not so much fun for everyone else. I mean, you got to think that you can play it like a fusion rifle, but you have in-air accuracy and you can fire from the hip. So you don't need the ADS. So it's everything that I want to be able to do with a fusion rifle, but I can't. But I can do it with Jotun. And too many people play Jotun like super long distance, and it's tremendously powerful at normal fusion rifle range. You just have to kind of get used to how it plays. So I love it.
Here, follow-up question before we move on to Cool Guy's favorite goofy loadout. Here's a follow-up question from Mark. Okay, so when you're playing to get the dub, you're going for Bastion. And when you're playing to have fun, you're using Big Joe Ton. Okay, here's the follow-up question. You die peacefully in your sleep, and you go to heaven, and you meet God face to face, and he says, "Who do you think you are?" What do you say to God? Because he says, "I saw what you use in PvP, bro." He says, "Oh, Bastion and comp," and then Jotun and quick play. You think you're funny? What do you think you're doing?
No.
You think we let you in here?
I am introducing a little bit of chaos into these players' lives, right? There's way too many people who just enjoy sniper, shotgun, hand cannon, 600 RPM auto. That's all they enjoy.
Yeah.
And everything's nice and neat and in a row. And then I come in with a Bastion or a Jotun and things change. Right?
I'm getting some real Dark Knight vibes right now.
Yeah, so no, I mean, it really just is. Too many people play this game
with a spare rations, but no one complains because it's all part of the plan.
It's all part of the plan, right? Yeah.
Right.
But
Got
all of
it.
a sudden,
Okay.
You,
You
bring a little Jotun into the world and everyone loses their mind. No, but that really is the case.
Done.
Too many people, it's just, it's very boring to do what everyone else is doing. So I like to try to change things up.
Sure, mix it up.
In a way that directly counters what everyone else is doing.
There you go. I'm just busting your balls, buddy. I like the zaniness. Cool guy. Favorite off meta loadout.
It's gonna be Chaos Reach Warlock with Getaway Artist and Trinity Ghoul.
Oh, you're a monster.
Yeah, dude. It's so fun, but it's one of those things I couldn't imagine 12 players on the board using that. It would be nuts. All using Getaway Artist.
Oh God. All
using Trinity Ghoul. It'd actually be kind of fun for like a game.
Yeah, that would be.
But yeah, that would be mine.
Oh God. you gonna upload that video, by the way? The one where you got 50 whatever eliminations with the Trinity Ghoul? When's that coming, buddy?
I never knew that this was a thing, right? On Dim, you can actually, on your drop down, you can click randomize weapons. I never knew that was there. So I was streaming with True Vanguard on Monday. He's like, hey, let's just do this all day. We did it for like 6 hours. And it'll put in double primary, double special, whatever it is. I was running Wither Horde with a Soul Survivor sniper, and I put up like 35. It was so fun. But it gave me a quick draw kill clip, old fashioned with Trinity Ghoul, and I was running Shinobu's Vow on Archstrider, and I put up 54 opponents defeated on Retribution, and it was a blast, man. And Charge with Light, so Trinity Ghoul, when you have a lightning rod, does indeed one shot. It does 66 per arrow. So, not even counting the lightning. So, yeah, it was pretty fun.
Yeah. How would you feel if everyone was using that in PvP? Would you want more people to? Would that be madness if everyone picked up the cool guy build?
I wish bows. Well, first of all, let me talk about a bow for a second. Like a lot of people hate them, right? I do wish that they would change the perfect draw on a bow, because if you've ever used a bow, especially Monarch with Oathkeepers on a Hunter, you see how different a bow can play. Just always hitting max damage, and in Monarch's case, always getting poison damage. I wish they'd have a little bit longer window on the bow. But I've found, but since that perfect draw isn't there, and the way that you have to play it, it's really quick. It's almost like a quick scope with the bow, right? And I just find not many people like playing that unless you commit yourself to it. So, like with Trinity Ghoul, like that one's a little bit different because you get the lightning rod from any arc final blow. But just bows in general, I don't think that they've really caught on because of that. That you have to be like a little bit further away.
Sure. All right, fair. For me, I'm gonna go ahead and say the latest fun off-meta troll business I've been doing is a 100 mobility hunter with 6th coyote and camo dodge, paired with a tube nade launcher and a sidearm. And just going, because if you have all, I just go camo nonstop. It's just nonstop camo. And you don't really need the 6th coyote, but sometimes you find yourself in these up-close battles against shotgun apes, and I got the tube launcher and the sidearm. It's just, I can camo on demand. Dodge camo, 100 mobility, sidearming people. It's just super, super funny. Do I want that to become meta? No, please don't use the Fallout build. Anything I do, don't do as I do. Do as I say. And Cammy, what about you?
It's pretty easy for me. I like the lasers, like Prometheus Lens, Cold Heart, the effigy.
Sure, those are fun. Would you want a laser meta?
No, we already had that before.
Oh yeah. Oh God.
Lens weekend.
Oh my God. I forgot about that.
I thought it was fun for a short period of time.
For a short period of time, it was definitely. I was cracking up for the first 2 minutes, and then I was crying for the rest of the weekend.
What I thought was interesting is that we got the first experience of Halo in a Destiny sandbox where everyone has the same primary that does the same thing that kills in the same time. Yep. And the only deciding factors were, teamwork, game sense, and aim. And it wasn't about whose gun was meta or whose gun wasn't. It was just two people going head to head or more people going head to head with the same gun killing the same speed. And I found it to be really, really refreshing for a short period of time. And then I was glad when Destiny went back to normal after it. But
it was oddly refreshing for oddly beautiful for a very brief period of time. Yeah. All of us on equal ground.
Hold on, we should do that real quick. I like your build, Fallout. So we're gonna have two of us with mountaintop Drang with double dodge going invis. The third, I'll be the third. I'll run top tree with Gemini Jester. So we'll take the radar away, and then we'll all go invis and just seek them out. Be great.
That sounds good. And then we'll plan our excuse in advance for when we for when we find ourselves at the pearly gates.
Get put on trial.
Graviton Forfeit actually works. You can't use it with 6 Coyote, obviously, but it actually works really well with an invis dodge. It's not a huge boost. I think it's like 2 additional seconds of invis. But what I've noticed is that is oftentimes just long enough to get from outside of radar range to like fusion rifle killing distance without ever showing up at all. Whereas if you don't have Graviton Forfeit, you almost have to wait inside radar range to close that gap. And then they get a ping and they know where you are and they hear you go invis and they kind of know what you're doing.
I'll have to make a Mercules tweak on my build and swap in the Graviton and swap in the Bastion.
Yeah, it's better for competitive stuff. Obviously, that doesn't matter at all in 6v6, right?
Yeah, you just do it anyways.
But for trials, if you never show up on the radar, you'll come across these flanks where the people literally aren't looking in your direction at all. And you basically walk right up behind them with the Bastion, and that's it.
Dear God. Well done. Here we go. Here's one from Lucas. What would each panel member's most competitive loadout in a survival setting be? Would be cool to have weapon rolls if possible, exotic armor piece, and a subclass. Let's pretend, here's a interesting twist. Let's pretend loadout is locked and the map is unknown when the loadout is chosen. So you have to kind of go into PvP for a survival setting with a one build potentially fits all scenario for a competitive setting. What do you bring into that table? Everyone's in deep thought right now.
I'll go.
Seeing the faces of the boys. Cool guy, take it away.
Even before it was buffed, I've always played Khepri Sting Spectral Blades, so I would go in with Khepri Sting. It's invaluable information in a competitive match, and yes, it's wall hacks. It does cost your grenade charge, though. I would pair that with a sniper rifle.
Smoke.
That's what sorry. Yeah. I lose my smoke, but you get that valuable information. You can call out where people are, but also like it depends on what I'm using and what my team wants to use, because most of the time, like in trials, I'm running, in this case, Revoker. I mean, why wouldn't I run Revoker with a Drang? But if my team's a little bit more reserved, it really depends on what I would use. Does that make sense? Because if people are going hard in the paint with me, like if we're all going, I'm really comfortable with that loadout. Most of the time, it's sniper hand cannon for me or sniper sidearm.
Fair. Cammy, you were definitely in deep thought for a minute there. Did you think of something, or is it too difficult to?
No, it's easier than you think. Snipe Lion, and I usually team with Druid side, so it's probably gonna put me on a Titan in either missile or Code of the Commander.
So you said Snipe Lion.
Mm-hmm.
Gotcha. That's a good answer. Merc, how about you?
You already know it's Bastion.
More Bastion.
And I got a great Galliard. I got a Galliard with ricochet rounds, quick draw, and kill clip, and a medium or kind of higher zoom scope, which is tremendous. Easily outrange summoners and stuff with it. So I like that. And I'm gonna go Invis Hunter with Graviton Forfeit. If it's legitimately a competitive situation, I consider 600 ARs to be incredibly strong, Bastion to be a counter to shotguns, and Invis is information denial for the other team. So
Good call. I am going to go one of two. I'm trying to pick on the subclass. I don't want to betray the Warlock blood that I feel I have in me. If I were to play a Warlock, it would be probably Stormtrance, because I feel that that is the safest Warlock. Like, everything is good about Top Tree Warlock to me, or on Storm. And I think the super is like crazy killer good, very easy to use. I like the loadout. I would probably go with Transversive Steps, because that's a very safe, strong exotic. I would go with... I'm a shotgun guy by trade. I would probably do... Even though it might get outclassed, I might go for the Not Forgotten. I'm trying to think of everything that has a very high floor. I'm very familiar with the Not Forgotten. It definitely, can get outclassed by a number of primaries or a number of other weapons, but it still feels good to me. Like Not Forgotten shotgun. It's kind of like a classic... what's a classic recipe that you would find in like any cookbook in America?
Chicken noodle soup.
Chicken noodle soup, that's a great one. It's, Not Forgotten is like the chicken noodle soup of my... You know what I'm talking about? Like,
yep.
Maybe not the best meal.
Just feels like home.
But it's just home, bro. It's familiar. It's very familiar.
Loki, it was the Halo Magnum of Destiny to me.
Yeah, pretty much. I would do high recovery, high intellect. Those are the two. When I'm playing in a competitive setting, those two stats are the ones I usually focus on the most. Intellect and recovery. I really don't... I borderline don't care what my other stats are. I mean, you obviously want them to be as high as you can, depending on what weapons the enemy team is using. You may need to focus on resilience. Perfect example, Thorn, Cammy brought up earlier. If they're using Thorn, you got to try and tweak the resilience. But intellect recovery is what I'm going for. If I had to play Hunter, Hunters are really good. Can we talk about how good Hunters are? God, I hate talking about this, but like I just feel like cool guy, just wipe that goddamn smirk off your face. Hunters are so good. He knows it, bro. He knows how good they are. They have like that ability is crazy good, especially on console, because the aim assist break is very strong. In the world of controllers, the man who can break aim assist is king, and the ability charges so quickly, and they have a great jump. They have such a great jump. Hunters are so strong. I hate that I love them so much, because when I get killed by a Hunter, I get salty.
I'm in the same boat. The game rewards me for not playing Hunter by giving my Hunter the best stuff. So when it pushed the shove on a new season, I have to play Hunter.
They're so good. So if I were playing a safe Hunter for comp, I would do Spec Blade. Again, a lot of recovery, a lot of intellect. I would use the same weapon loadout that I mentioned, probably Not Forgotten shotgun. And I would probably use Dragon Shadow. Maybe Stompies. I'm kind of a bigger fan of the Dragon Shadow.
I think Dragon Shadow is a safer move with sunsetting, because you never know what perks and weapons are going to be limited by. Whereas Stompy with a quick draw shot is a game changer.
That is true. Yeah, Dragon Shadow is just very strong. And you just dodge everywhere. Dodge. You get super handling. It's just everything is very snappy. You get the wall hacks. You get a Not Forgotten kill while crouching. Boom, wall hack. Spectral Blade is just such a good roaming super. It's so good.
That also solves the Not Forgotten's inherent low handling. That's one of the weaknesses of that gun. It just throws it out the window with Dragon Shadow. So I think that's a really solid choice.
No, I would agree. This has definitely turned into the questions episode of the show. We had other topics on the table that we could talk about. We could definitely save one of them for when Drew is here, because he's not getting out of that discussion that easy. I'm gonna tell you right now. Drew,
I can probably answer for Drew at this point.
I know, but I wanna see the kids sweat a little bit,
No, on that question though, because I team with them all the time, and you know, like the 0 to 100 tilt, we all have it. You said like Bastion might have been a trigger weapon for Joey or something, but we all have those moments, and like for Drew, it's like, all right, chaperone's going on.
All right, let's save
doesn't play.
Let's save that topic for when Drew. We keep pushing that topic back. swear we keep pushing that topic back. We're gonna talk about it eventually. We keep pushing it back, but we can keep going with a few more questions, and then maybe one more question or two before we hit a question that I thought perfectly pivoted into something I did want to talk about before the show ended. So here we go. Oh, here's something relevant. Question from Joshua Keaton on Twitter. Hunters are generally considered the best in PvP because of their movement abilities. What can be added to Titans and Warlocks to give them a lore-friendly nudge up?
Twilight Garrison for Titans.
Ooh, that is a bold call, my friend. I have a lot of people who would very strongly agree, and a lot of people who would very strongly disagree.
And I would rework Phoenix Dive for Warlocks to make it actually useful. It's a neat idea for an ability. It just unfortunately it doesn't really seem to work very well or do anything.
I have an idea. Hold that thought. What if I told you we had a crazy game type? It was literally called, I get the keys to the Bungie castle for a whole month. Okay? And we go, okay, here's Fallout's priority. There's a new game type in Crucible. It's called Crazy PvP. Your subclasses are... I'm on board, baby. Every subclass and class is getting buffed to an absurd degree. Make every class absurd. Gonna give you an example. Every Warlock gets Icarus Dash. Hit me with something... It's supposed to be crazy, Merc. Don't give me that face. It's called Crazy PvP. Now hit me with something crazy. What would you do that would make a Titan or a Warlock, or hell, even a Hunter? Sure, we'll help them out. We'll make them even more crazy. Give them something crazy right now. Yeah, he's thinking.
Deep in my heart of hearts, I don't want to do it because the idea of buffing Titans or Warlocks just makes me sick to my stomach. But I don't know. Give every Titan some type of shoulder charge ability and give them the overshield that comes when you sprint.
Oh, there you go. Now you're talking. That's a crazy idea. I like it. What if we threw Juggernaut on there too?
Yeah, they all get overshield. They all get that shield that pops up in front of them, and they can shoulder charge through the shield.
Right? I love it. I love it. Bungie, please don't do any of this, but I love it. Cool guy. Give me something for Hunters or Warlocks. I'm putting you on the spot. Give me
you need
something.
to give Hunters. You need to give Middle Tree Arcstrider Blink. Anyway.
I love it, dude.
Yes, please.
Blink for Hunters, yeah.
They could take away the dodge. Give me Blink.
So, I mean, historically here, it's a good question. Like, what would you do to these classes to make them on par? Like, a lot of players use Hunter because of the movement, obviously. But another one is the dodge, because what the dodge does, you get every 9 seconds, 10 seconds. Essentially, you aren't punished for bad positioning. Every other sub in the game, every other class, if you're caught out where you're not supposed to be, you're done. You're done. And let's remember, every ability, when you pop a rift, when you pop a shield with a Titan, when you dodge, you do get damage reduction. Like, it's in the game, right? So not only are you dodging, and I main Hunter, dude. I put 2,000 hours on Hunter in Destiny 2. Like, I've always thought that it should be looked at just for that sense alone, because if a skip grenade comes at you and you're one shot, you're done as a Titan. You're done as a Warlock. Not so much with the Hunter. So that's why, at the core, I feel players gravitate to it, because you aren't punished for bad positioning and bad play. On the flip side, historically in Destiny, the best subs, and it's all centered around movement. We have Bones of Ao. We have Twilight Garrison. The Top Tree Dawnblade got a buff to that Icarus Dash. Guess what you're seeing a lot of in the Crucible? Top Tree Icarus Dash Warlocks. It's all movement based. There was Titan skating, right? So to those things, in my opinion, it has to be movement based. I'll let you guys, if you want to add on to that, but
I would agree.
That's where I would go.
I 100% agree. I as much as people love Top Tree Dawnblade, the super is just so super annoying for me to use. Compared to what Dawnblade super used to be at its peak, which you could just cross map with no effort and just dunk on people with those tracking swords. But I just love Icarus Dash on Warlock because it's the closest thing that Warlocks have to a hunter dodge, right? I mean, like if you find yourself in that situation, boom, it's the get out of jail free card that the warlocks are so envious of the hunters for having. But I agree. Yeah, the movement perks that's what makes a class hot. I would agree. Before I move on to the next question, gonna be fair to Cammy. Cammy, if you could do anything for crazy PvP, what would you make crazy?
Ooh,
No pressure.
okay.
No pressure.
I like Cool Guy's Blink, man. I miss that so much on Hunter.
That was a lot of fun.
Like, really, I was serious. They could take away the dodge. I would still use Blink.
What was the lore on that? I'm sure my
They took it
fiance
from the
would know.
Warlocks.
They took it from warlocks.
Yeah.
Well, what
Yes,
happened? Why'd they
learned
give
it
it up?
from the Warlocks?
Yeah.
They gave it back. They felt bad. It
They
made
felt
them
bad.
too good.
Yeah, because they were too
Yeah.
good. Yeah, we can already dodge every 9 seconds. You can
Like,
take
bro,
the
we're
shitty
good out here,
blink
man.
ability.
We're good.
Yeah,
You know what
we're
would be
fine.
what would be subtle but really strong is Titans inherently getting the Lion Rampant exotic.
Oh,
Just the
for
way that changes the movement system. Yeah.
That I like that.
Rocket boots.
Yeah, it gives you
Little
that
rocket boot
extra
action.
jump. And it's
There you
already
go.
like I call Titan jump the catapult lift a good value hunter jump. 'Cause it doesn't propel you too fast, but it's enough to be effective. And what the Lion Rampants do is they give you another one of those. You can sort of float doorways and whatnot. Except the Lion Rampants enable hip fire in the air, which is amazing because you don't have to ready your weapon. And you know how hunters can shoot a bow while jumping? They can charge the bow back and jump, but the other two types of characters cannot.
I know that all too well. Yeah.
I think giving Titans that, but with hipfire only, is a fair caveat. Even in the crazy PvP and not.
Fair. Excellent questions all around. Here's a great question that I think we can transition to a quick discussion topic very quick before we come to a close today. It's from John H on Twitter. Do you spend the next 3 months until Beyond Light perfecting character builds, etc., or do you prep for fall? If you're prepping for fall, what are you prepping for exactly? So this is all if you're, while my friends here think about some November prep. If you're hearing it from me for the first time, I deeply apologize, but Beyond Light has in fact been pushed back to November. So we have much more time in the current season, which has been extended to November. So prepping is kind of difficult in nature because there's only so much we can do in terms of, because sunsetting is a thing. If there are certain weapons I would love to go farm for now, but they, to a degree will not be tremendously useful. But what are you guys doing, if anything, to prepare for November? What would you recommend that people out there do to prepare for November?
I don't really prep at all, so I'm a bad person to ask that question. I kind of like the mads. I'm not trying to get worlds first on anything, right? So
Sure, fair.
I don't need to level up super quickly, and I kind of enjoy the process. Like I like feeling like I'm new and like I'm fresh, right? And I feel like when I have prepped a couple of seasons before, it kind of takes it away from me, where I spend the majority of the first day like turning in bounties and maximize. it makes it more of like a spreadsheet game to me, and I already do so much spreadsheet stuff with the weapons and things like that like I don't want to do that for my leveling process. So I spend the majority of my time before a season, like if I found something that season that I really enjoy, I want to get really, really good with it, and I'll practice a lot, or just experimenting with different weapons and having fun. I mean, yeah, so I'm not a good person to ask about the prepping stuff. I'm not a what was it that Cammy called it, a lost sector goblin or whatever it is, when you like load up on all the bounties and so that's not, I'm not that type of player, unfortunately. So
When they messed up the trials power level enabled, that's exactly what we did. We said, oh, okay, we're going to show everybody why this should not be a thing. So we show up in trials as the raid boss. They shoot me and I heal somehow. But
yeah.
Any additional thoughts from? I mean, I could give a practical answer. I mean, if you find yourself missing out on any key exotic weapons that you could go chase down now, that that you might not have, that would be a good answer. I think the easiest answer I could give.
I'm glad you said that, because I'll elaborate on that exact
please.
point.
But yeah, the answer I could give to anyone would be that if you don't have the Anarchy grenade launcher, you should go try to acquire it, because you can play Scourge of the Past as much as you want. Bungie has lifted the cap on how many times you can earn rewards from that raid and several others. And the Anarchy is a wonderful weapon. Maybe not for PvP, but the unique design of the weapon, its function in game, is extremely cool. If you're looking for a meme power weapon in PvP, I'm telling you, man, put one prong on one buddy, one prong on another buddy, and have them both run down a hallway at people and see how many, like, if you can get a kill with that, it's hilarious. And the gun is super god tier for PvE, fantastic. If you don't have the Anarchy, and now is the time. There's literally never been a better time to farm for that gun. So if there's any exotics that you don't have, that you feel you would greatly benefit from in the future, we got time. We got nothing but time until November. You should probably go out of your way and try and chase them down. Cammy, what did you want to expand on?
So I made a formal YouTube video on that topic. I called it the catch-up guide for Destiny 2.
Oh, okay.
And what that goal of the video was to give my viewers a shopping list of things to acquire that will set them up for the future, so that there's never a piece of content that they do not have entry-level gear for. So think any raid that ever existed, any dungeon, these list of exotic weapons and legendary weapons will get you through it. And in the future, that can mean maybe getting the Bastion slot. So what I recommended, the best bang for their buck of time approach, is creating an armor set that works both in PvE and PvP. So Dragon Shadow is a really good candidate for that, because it automatically reloads the weapons, which is great in PvP and great in PvE. The handling is the icing on the cake for PvP that future-proofs your loot, so that if you don't get a shotgun with quick draw, you're still prepared. The Anarchy was a perfect example, Fallout, because that is a staple in most activities.
Yeah, definitely. I gotta check out that video. I'm I'm very interested in what you would recommend.
A lot of people sort of miss the point with that one. It's sort of to combat sunsetting and make it so that you're end game enabled for any piece of future content.
Sure. Okay, that's fair. What do you got?
I just want to add in too, your armaments. If you have if you have nothing to do,
yeah.
Like I believe it's from the Sparrow section, like the Fallen armaments or
yes,
Scourge of the Past.
From Scourge of the Past. I need to get those. That's something that I need.
So
to
yeah,
chase
like
down.
that's what I'm doing. Like I'm trying to get all my armaments and set that, and we have a couple Iron Banners coming up again. Like you could grind that out. Like Cold Denial, there's one this particular role that I'm wanting, so that's what I'm doing. All my Umbrals are going to that. I'd get all that square.
Good call.
And honestly, like what Cam said, the dungeons, the raids, like if you can get people together, getting that, helping people out too that haven't done it, because I know a lot of people haven't been doing raids. But you're getting that armor, with the power level with it. And honestly, like I'm not really min-maxing. I'm just trying to do as much as I can. And if armor falls to me, great. That's where I'm getting it from. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Let's rewind for a second here. Be super user friendly for those at home who might not, because hey, there's people out there who weren't really familiar with Charged with Light. It's entirely possible there's a bunch of people out there not familiar with the armament armor mods, right? So the armament armor mods, please correct me if I'm wrong, depending on what class of enemy, so let's go with the Taken armament armor mods. If you acquire that, which I believe you can acquire from the Last Wish raid, the hidden chests,
which you can acquire loot for by typing in codes that are accessible on the internet to get raid loot without doing a raid.
Indeed. If you acquire the Taken armament armor mod and you equip it onto your armor and you kill a Taken enemy with a grenade, you get power ammo directly into your gun, correct?
And correct. It sounds like you are joking, but no, that is a real thing in the game.
Yeah, and there's the barrier mod, which so like Taken barrier. You get damaged by a Taken, and then you get like 20% or something incoming additional damage reduction for the next 10 seconds. So even though armor sunsetting is a thing, some pieces of armor that we have today will not be relevant later on. As far as we know, the armament armor mods are going to remain very valuable for a respectable period of time. And no matter what piece of armor that you get in the future, I mean, you should probably be able to potentially equip it, at least the most immediate armor that you get, with some of these mods, which are super valuable. So if you have time, which we all do between now and Beyond Light, try to hunt down the barrier and armament armor mods that you don't yet have, because that can definitely help you be more prepared for whatever PvE content is coming down the pipe.
Check the gunsmith every day too. Like if you don't have powerful friends, like that
huge,
comes up.
yes.
Huge idea.
Like, every day. If you don't have it, just check it.
I do that every day because sometimes you can be surprised. There's a lot of armor. I have a ton of armor mods, but there's a couple that I don't have.
Yeah.
And when I check Banshee at the tower, I'm like, oh, yo, he's selling this one that I don't have. I'm like, General Grievous, fine addition to my collection. And then it's off the table. You don't have to worry about it anymore. Just those are all really good tips for prepping for the fall. Yeah. Are you second part of his question, which we can take 1 minute to answer? What meta are you envisioning? Are we able to predict the meta? Does anyone here have a crystal ball?
PvE or PvP?
Dealer's choice.
Okay.
We'll have to wait till we get that first sandbox patch preview.
Yeah, that's true.
Once they give us that, I think we're generally pretty capable of predicting the meta, unless they introduce like an entirely new archetype or they just dramatically throw a wrench into the works. But I mean, it's kind of hard to. What do I predict they're going to do? I predict that 600, RPM auto rifles probably won't be meta anymore in the next season, and scout rifles will probably get a buff.
Fair prediction. I always tell people, what are the two things that make a gun great? Ease of use and time to kill. This is really what it boils down to. Ease of use, time to kill. And ease of use, got a couple numbers for that. And also depends on weapon feel. And time to kill, well, I got Mercules for that. I got his spreadsheets and numbers. He's my wingman for telling me which guns kill quick.
That's what I'm here for, man.
My man. Well, I think that was actually a pretty awesome episode. I really appreciate everyone on Twitter who hit us up with a bunch of fantastic questions. I feel like we probably could have gone all night. There were plenty more questions on Twitter that we did not get to, and I really apologize if you wrote in with a question that we did not get to, but I so much appreciate all of you. And if you have a question that we did not get to, hit us with it for a future episode. We'd be glad to try and tackle it if we get more time. We always have things to talk about, but I kind of like the idea of maybe doing the questions first. Maybe in a future episode we'll trim it down so we're not doing an entire question episode, but we could do more question-only episodes in future editions of the show. I think it went pretty well. But again, thank you at home for joining us, and let's quickly go around the table. Tell all the people where they can find you. Cammy, where can the people find you?
YouTube.com/CammyCakes Gaming, Twitch.tv/CammyCakes. I stream Destiny 2 and now Phantasy Star Online 2. Pretty much every other day.
Good man. Cool Guy, where can the people find you?
YouTube and Twitter is at Cool Guy Games, and Twitch is I Am Cool Guy Games.
There you go. Merc, tell the people.
Twitter at Mercules904, and look for the Destiny Massive Breakdowns podcast. That's on Apple Podcasts, Podbean, the whole, pretty much everywhere podcasts are sold.
Attaboy. My name is Fallout. You can find me on YouTube at youtube.com/FalloutPlays, twitch.tv/FalloutPlays, and at FalloutPlays on Twitter. Drew is not here, but we're gonna plug our boy. His branding is all over the place, man. What is he on Twitch?
Twitch.tv/Drewskys.
With the S on the end.
Yeah, with the S at the end.
Twitch.tv.
That's the one I know for sure.
That's right. Yeah, I know that story.
YouTube is Drewsky's channel.
YouTube is Drewsky's channel.
Yeah, and now we have to talk about his mixtape.
And we gotta say his.
Okay.
Yeah, we'll do it next time. He tried to listen to it. Blew his computer up, man. His computer went up in flames. So that's why he's not here on the show tonight. But thank you all very much for joining us. We have been Firing Range. We will see you next time. Take care.